And we continue with the second layer, which is we call it shared values that people hold together in organization. Something that people in organization that share the same belief, they value the same thing, common thing that they value. This is from last time, right? This is from last time, and then we continue with this Amazon. If you recall, remember that? That because in as our article, it's mentioned about Amazon values. Therefore, from that as our article, I link that to organizational culture, which is basically talking about Amazon values, and this is 14 values of Amazon. All right. So let's continue. So we still at that level, second layer of organizational culture, which is okay. This is Google, and this is 10 values of Google. Focus on user and all else we follow. Second, it is best to do things really, really well. 3, fast is greater than zero. And this is Yahoo. Alright. But the thing is, what I would like to ask, we all know what happened to Yahoo, right? It's gone. Go bankrupt. Not bankrupt, but it was taken over by Verizon. So Yahoo was the leaders in the search engine long time ago. Unfortunately, Yahoo cannot adapt and adjust themselves to changing environment. And right now, the first one is Google. But my question is, if you recall, we have model that to get business result. Major part of that is organizational culture, which is part of organizational culture can be artifact, which is the first layer, and second layer is value, and the third layer is tag assumption, basic assumption. My question is, what's wrong with this value? How come Yahoo went down? Yes, maybe it's several reasons, but part of that can be from the organizational culture. So if we explore in detail about the organizational culture in terms of tag value, what wrong with this value? You also have value of Google. Maybe if you would like to compare between these two organizational value, you can do that too, since they seem to be in the same industry. Google search engine and Yahoo also search engine. What's wrong with this value? What do you think? And by the way, before this thing happened with Yahoo, Yahoo CEO was Melissa Meir. You familiar with her name? With the face. She's she's from Google. Before she came to Yahoo, but a director at Yahoo has very great expectation about her because she seemed to have everything. In fact, she one of Google employee number 20 something, meaning that she was with Google since it is founded by Larry Page. And for her personal life, she even dated with Larry Page, which is one of the founder of Google. But anyway, she seems to have very good qualification, background, and everything. So when Yahoo got her to run the company, lots of people were so excited. And this is values when you were at Yahoo. So what's wrong with this value? Given that one reason that cause organization problem is organizational culture. So when we look at organizational culture, we can look at everything, including shared values. So my question is, well, when you look at this value, what's wrong with this value?
There's nothing related that will adapt to their world.
But they say speed, move fast. with our users. Yeah?
So I think there's two things.
Two things.
Yeah.
Maybe pick one
First,
of the things, one
okay.
major reason.
If I look
and left one for someone else.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
If I look at this list of values, this could be any company in the world. It could be a car company, it could be a kiosk, it could be 7-Eleven, anything.
Mhm.
It says nothing about the business that they're actually in, which is an internet company.
Okay. And what about this value? For example, like Huawei. Nothing about cell phone. And by the way, I'm grading your exam and asking a question about one leader. And one of the classmates said that the good example of leader is Jim Jacob. You should be so proud of yourself.
I thought he was joking when he said that.
No,
Oh, really?
I grade your exam. So okay. I don't look at the name, because when I grade student paper, I don't look at the name, whose paper. But anyway, one example is Jacob.
Far out.
I think it's more than one actually.
Oh,
I'm
no.
still remember because I'm still
Is that
anyway.
yourself, right?
Yeah, it could be by myself, yeah.
Yeah, could be that.
was-
But
he was
I didn't look at the
honest.
name. Yeah, it could be. You can check. Actually, this is good remark. All right. So no, actually, when you look at Huawei, it said nothing about business. And if anybody else would like to try what's wrong with Yahoo value? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe compared to Huawei or Google, Amazon, maybe Yahoo's way is like very much details about like the shape of the sentences, but the other successful companies are like having the conceptual ideas
You mean like they
to apply in any ways, but like to achieve the value. Like, this is like
too specific. That's what you said.
seems
Okay,
like
too specific. Well, actually, they can go with simplicity, can go with beauty, can go with speed. But they could do that. But the reason that they talk about that in details is because they would like to make sure that people understand the word that they use in the same way. Therefore, I don't think that is the big problem. All right. Anybody else would like to try before I suggest something else? And what I suggest could maybe not the best answer, but just would like to share with you. Anybody? All right. So to me, I think the big problem why Yahoo has problem and something that happened to Yahoo nowadays because of this concept. When we're talking about values in organizational culture, we distinguish between two types of values. One is we call espoused values, mean values that is identified by top management. And this part is quite easy. You can come up with any value that you think is, will be good for the organization. And this is the part that I enjoy, as consulting work when I was hired to manage the organizational culture. Actually, it's not difficult. Just one major things that determine organizational culture, especially shared value, is that strategy. So in my consulting work, when people ask me, Ajahn, what should be our value? So I will ask about other things, including that strategy. What is your direction? What you want to develop as your core competency? I start from that, and then I come up with that core value that I suggest them. And after that, it depends on them. If they would like to use that core values. This part is easy. For example, some organization may come with very nice work like can be spirit. S stand for this, P stand for that, I stand for that, and put everything together, from the first letter and become a word. But actually things that matter is what we call enacted values. Value and norm that actually exhibit in the organization. Something that employees actually behave or do in the organization. For example, some organization may come up with value like work-life balance, maybe, but in reality, they call meeting, in the weekend. This is, it means that external values is different from enacted values. For me, the part that is very difficult in organizational culture is how you can actually make enacted values and expel values to be the same thing. Because to identify is easy, but to actually do it is difficult. And this is a part that most people misunderstand, that organizational culture is not important because you just come up with core value and that's it. It's not that it, because you have to work very, very, very hard to turn that core value to be enacted values. And as you can see, when there's a gap between expel and enacted value, it can become a problem in organization. And this is the case for Yahoo. Because even Yahoo have core value that is simplicity, but what actually happened in Yahoo is not simple. Melissa Mayer have management style that we can call micromanage. That she try to get involved in everything. She try to make decisions in everything, even in small details. So people complain a lot about her leadership. Before big thing happened in Yahoo, actually they have a big meeting, and that's so hard with the argument about leadership style of Melissa Mayer, because she's talking about beauty, simplicity, speed, but it never happened in Yahoo. So that is a part that I would like you to focus. When we're talking about organizational culture, it's not just about, we have culture because we identify our core value and that's it. It's not that. You have to work very hard to manage, to get the real, what we call enacted value that's similar to expelled values. Okay, therefore we, left this, before we leave this topic, let's answer this question together. Every month, Bombay Bazaar awards an Employee of the Month award to one employee. As a reward offer, around 100 check and as a parking space with employee's name on the month. This is example which level that we discussed. A, B, C, D. This is
C or C?
This is C. This is artifacts. When we're talking about ritual, ceremony, talking about, so the Employee of the Month award. This is, something that we can do, because artifact is over water, something that easily to be seen, something that easy to change, but it's not really very powerful. One that is very powerful is something deep down under the water, which can be shared assumption. Well, in that case, what is shared assumption from this picture? See, when we try to understand organizational culture, so this is the deepest one is we call shared assumption. It's unconscious, taken for granted belief. Sometimes it's we cannot even explain what our shared assumption, but it have high impact on the organization. It can affect shared values and it can affect artifacts and so on. Alright, so for example, maybe one organization can have shared assumption that we aim for service excellence or teamwork, that kind of thing. Alright, so let's continue with this question. The top management of Rock Top Sports Equipment had clearly stated the values and norms that are preferred by Rock Top. These are referred to as, the answer is?
A.
The answer, yeah, very good. A is about values identified by top management. Alright, in that case, since we would like to manage organizational culture, that we would like to come up with expel and enacted value that have no gap between these two, and organizational culture that support organizational strategy. So we have to understand organizational culture model, which is from this, the first box is driver, which is something that influence, or we can call it antecedent of organizational culture. In the other one, where does the organizational culture come from? Alright, of course, organizational culture come from founder. So it's like if founder have this personality, it will influence how people behave in the organization. For example, if you recall example about Apple, which is founder of Apple is Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs have personality that he's perfectionist. Therefore, in Apple they aim for perfection. Okay, that's can be one example. Or if you look at IKEA, which is I don't remember the name of the founder, but he have personality that he's like Google, the way that he spend money. Therefore, in IKEA too, they have value like full quality, meaning that even the top executive when they fly on with coach economy class. It's no private jet for executive, no business class. Because the way that founders spend the money is very be careful. Actually he just passed away. But when we're talking about the way that he spend money is even though he's a billionaire, but he still use very very old car. As long as it's can stand it's work he used that car. So that influence on founder have vision for the organization should be and have high influence. But not only just founder that have influence on organizational culture, it can be for national culture, meaning that Thai organization are different from American organization, Japanese organization, and for example, like if we talking about on-time performance, in airline. One of my students is pilot, and he also have something to do with running part in pilot part, Thai Airways. And then even though he finished, he graduated, but from time to time he still have something to consult with me. So he called me and said, Ajahn, I need help because I would like to manage on-time performance of Thai Airways because we have complaints that we have a lot of delays. And so okay, let's and I find that it's very challenging for me, for this project. So before we do anything, let's ask researcher, Ajahn. So okay, let me find information. Therefore, I try to look at good example, which organization that have good performance in terms of on-time performance, in airline industry. Can you guess which one? Which airline have the best on-time performance?
JAL.
Yeah, JAL top 3, and the first number 1 is Singapore Airlines, and you're not surprised because that culture. Therefore, I talk to my student. It's gonna be very challenging for Thai Airline now because our culture that because the way that we will time can be different. Some culture will time just like straight line. Because when it's straight line, it's come and go. It will not come back. Therefore, they're serious about time. For example, just like Singaporean or Japanese. Japanese very strict about time, which is for me advice. Actually, it's good and easy. So something predictable is easy. But for some culture, including Thai culture, we view time just like a circle. So it's even though it's come and go, it's gonna come back anyway because it's circle. So this is just we will not say that this is which is better which, but it's just the way of life that we comfortable with. But it's something that bothers me a lot when we're talking about time perception. Lots of people also refer as a CU time, meaning that you always late. This is CU time. And this is, bother me a lot because I don't think that this is not just about Julana. I think it's every time, almost every time. This is something that we have to improve. But anyway, so that's talking about influence of culture, national culture on organizational culture. But it does mean that even, Thai culture, Thai organization, for example, like, bank, Thai bank, Kasikorn bank, Bangkok bank, Tung Thai Bank, doesn't mean that they will share the same organizational culture, even though they are Thai banks, there's something specific. But yes, some influence gonna be from national culture, or for example, just like Exxon. Anybody work from Exxon? Or yeah, okay. So you can tell us about your organizational culture. They one of their value is safety, right? But since they are American company, I don't know, I could be wrong, but American, I think they're too very extreme. It's not too much, not too less. It's not nothing in the middle. So in terms of safety culture, maybe some of you can maybe share with us about how Exxon is very serious about safety. Maybe I want you to raise your hand. You can be either of you. Yeah, okay.
So one of the examples is that they have like a place where you can go and it's called Express Set, where you can share like you see other employee or doing something that's not safe, as
Such as
such as walking with your phone, like playing on your phone while you're walking.
that. But actually, we normally do walk and use the cell phone, but for in the office, no.
Your boss will call you off right away if like the boss see, and also like sometimes it's just your shoes. You can wear like an open-toed, open-heeled shoes.
Flip flop, not okay.
Yes, not
Because it's not because it's not polite, but because it's not safe.
yeah. They have like the mirror, the circular mirror that you can see like usually on the street, but they have it on every corner
In the office.
In the office. In
With-
the headquarters.
To prevent people literally bump into each other. Yeah, this is exam. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's that. They're very strict about that safety culture, and and you have to write a safety report.
Yeah.
Right? Every
Also, we
week.
can have cutters.
Or you cannot use cutter as a
No,
stationary.
it's not allowed in the office.
What about sister? Is sister okay?
Scissors.
Sister okay, okay. But no, not cutter. Okay, so see, American company. All right. So, but this is bring me to the next point that the reason that they're very serious about safety because they had major accident. So and for this type of industry, when they have major accident, it can cost a lot. Not just about expenses, but in terms of reputation. And it can damage national resource. Therefore, organization that in industry, including Chevron, also serious about safety. So my point is that not only just founder and national culture that have high influence on organizational culture can be industry. So when you are in the same industry, you seem to share certain part that focus or pay attention on the same thing. That is about driver. And the last driver of organizational culture is top management, which is the one that will actually run the company. Therefore, even though we have founder, but if founder is gone, maybe because they step down and have somebody else run the company, chances our organizational culture will reflect top management. Maybe because top management or CEO, they will come up with strategy,
Really?
and most of the time when they come up with strategy, they will tend to maybe change or do something about organizational called value. Therefore, I would think that right now, Apple will have organizational culture that different, just as when the time that Steve Jobs was there. Because Tim Cook have totally different personality when you compare between Tim Cook, which is current CEO, with Steve Jobs. That can be a major driver of organizational culture. Therefore, right, and I thought that I have another. All right. Next, is organizational culture strong? If is strong organizational culture good? Is it good? In the other word, is it good to have strong organizational culture? Before we before we answer that, let's talk about what does it mean by strong culture versus weak culture. Strong culture means that it's widely and deeply held by employees in the organization. Everyone, things in the same way.
Mm.
Everyone tend to behave in the same way. That is strong culture.
Mm.
Okay, but if it's weak culture, it means that organization seem to have this culture, but it's not really something that people serious about that practice or that norm. All right, that is mean strong versus weak. Okay, so my question is it good to have strong culture?
Depends on the culture.
Depends on the culture.
If you have a strong organizational culture that is about laziness, lack of creativity, no innovation, I wouldn't want a company that has that organizational culture.
That is a good answer. But actually, to be safe, let's explain with this model, with this picture. Well, since strong organizational culture can act as something social proof, social control system. Later we talk about organizational structure, which is real system organization. But organizational culture can be intangible system in organization. It can have influence. And this can be that its effect, performance, employee well-being, but it will be good or bad. It also depends on what type of culture. So we cannot say for sure what type of culture is going to be good because it also depends on situation, environment. Alright. Sometimes this type of culture is work very well for this company, maybe because the company is small. For example, just like clan culture. Work-life family. That work really well for small organization. But when organization is large, maybe it's have to be different. Therefore, we cannot say for sure which type of culture will be good, but hopefully that type of culture that fit at least with what can you guess? If we cannot be specific about type of culture that's gonna be good, but if we have to get fit, so fit organizational culture with what? Precise environment should fit with, which is something that we start off this topic. Type of culture that is fit with value is organizational culture. So we don't talking about culture and culture. We have to be a different thing. So type of culture that fit with where is it where?
Like for example, like if a company like a foreign company is operated in China and they still works like very like a foreigner rather than trying to understand what's going on. It might have a problem. Like even if the culture, organizational culture is strong, so it doesn't really fit with.
Well, actually, it can go two ways. One way that is fair enough that you said that. So maybe they should adapt themselves to local. So let's make local happy with this culture. At least to retain local. But maybe if they have that culture is very good. Maybe it's a way that they can change or modify behavior of local to be something that they would like it to be. Therefore, actually, to be safe, that type of culture that fit with that strategy. Again, everything that by now we would like to drive business result, and since to come up with something that's like just a weapon for business, just like in a war, you need strategy. But strategy is just something that you want to be. But we need mechanism, which is in management. That part of that is organizational culture. For example, if you want innovation, you should have organizational culture that support innovation. Just like we discussed last time from our article, right? Or like Samsung have empathy, organizational culture or IDEO, which is designing firm. They aim for strategy. They have culture that we call helping culture. So that that is what is important. That organizational culture not only just with environment, but with strategy. Strategy will dictate everything because strategy is something that we would like to achieve. Okay, and but not only that, when we're talking about strength, it's not be too strong because if it's too strong, it's gonna be cult-like. You understand cult-like? Because when it's cult-like, you don't have thing to question or doubt each other. Just go along with each other to easy. We okay to be moderate and adapt. Adaptive meaning that help organization to change. Since we working in the VUCA world, that is talking about is strong culture is good or bad. All right. Not only that we manage strength of organizational culture, but we have to manage type of organizational culture. But the question is, can organization culture be created and imposed? Of course, yes. Because we are in business school. We not just learn and just take it for us the way it is. But we want to understand and so we can manage organizational culture. But this is something that you have to keep in mind. It is difficult to simply create core values. I mean, we're talking about core value. It's not just about external value, but it is exact values that is very difficult. If you recall when General Prayut Chan-o-cha first, maybe like 5 years ago, actually he do several things, but one thing that he come up with, he calls 12 core values for Thailand. Anybody still remember that 12 core values? But now it's like just gone because it's not easy to to change or to create that values. And given that he came up with the idea he want to change, I come up with that 12 core values. It's too many. When we want to change something, we have to focus just one thing at a time. But he 12, and it just actually I think it's gone too fast. And he just focus on lottery, which is for me I think it's maybe because I'm not the one that buy lottery, so it doesn't mean anything much to me. But anyway, we should try to stay away from politics because it's too hot right now. Anyway, so well, if you want to talk about politics, maybe with Ajahn Jen. Maybe he's a good one because he was in political science. But anyway, not a good one, but I voted for someone that I feel comfortable with. Anyway, so and when especially when we try to impose, meaning that we push too hard on organizational culture, most of the time we got resistance. Not because people don't like that culture, but because we don't want to push to do something. We want freedom to do something that you think is because we choose to do on our own. And to change, it takes time. Have to be very patient. We cannot change organizational culture just overnight. But the question is how we can change or create or impose organizational culture. Or I don't want to say impose, I want to say embed. That is better than impose. We don't want to enforce organizational culture, but we want to embed organizational culture. It can be by 4 techniques. Alright, so let's talk about that 4 techniques. We should actually, organization should do it all 4. First, action of leaders or founders. We just like monkey. In a group of monkey, whatever they will do, they will look at the head of the monkey. Same thing. So as human being, what our leader do will have high effect on behavior of employees. For example, if leader talking about we would like to have a culture that we want to be punctual, but if leader always late, forget about it. That punctuality will get better because you see you're talking about punctuality, but you're still late. So who cares? Leader behavior will highly affect other people behavior. Leader pay attention to those activities they can measure and control, and behavior of leaders send message to employees about acceptable norms. So what would you like to see as a leader, or if as a founder, that if you run a company, you have to do that. For example, like Elon Musk, he's run SpaceX, Tesla. He's the one that always stay late at night in the organization. And this is send a message that people in Tesla work very hard, but maybe 70 or 80 hours per week. very hard. But when you ask people in Tesla, they say that well they work hard because they want to. They from what they see, Elon Musk is inspiring them, and they want to be just maybe from that high purpose. That's one element, one factor that's have influence when we would like to change or create organizational culture, especially when we're talking about ethics culture. We will organizational culture that pay attention on ethics. Yes, as a leader, you have to be role model. When leaders talking about we want integrity, but if leaders show no integrity at all, just cannot lead to integrity in the organization. So one Jack Ma, maybe this story is quite interesting to me, that actually Jack Ma have controversy about in terms of ethics, because of the product that they sell. But anyway, Jack Ma said that integrity, honesty is very important. Therefore, in I think it's a couple of years ago that in Alibaba they have special moon cake, and it seems like everyone would like to get that moon cake, but they have quota for each employees. But certain group of employees, IT group, they can work with the system and they can cheat. They can get more than they should get, and people find out that they cheat. They get more mooncake than they are supposed to get. They got fired just because of mooncake. Because Jack Ma would like to send message that it's not okay. If you cheat on one thing, it means that you're gonna cheat on other things. And I don't know. For me, that's why when you cheat on one thing, you gonna doubt what about other things. So that, or maybe he would like to send strong message to everyone that we want, integrity, honesty in this, in Alibaba. That's punish unethical ones. That's and also can have protective mechanism. Protect is better because sometimes people do wrong things just because they have a chance. So if you have protective mechanism, that's gonna help to build ethical or to create ethical behavior. And next is to align artifacts. Actually this part is easy. Artifacts such as furniture, building, or come up with story talking about organizational culture, or maybe dress code of that company. This easy. This is easy to do, to change. But again, as you recall, it can not highly affect values or behavior in the organization. But nonetheless, it's good to to pay attention on these small things. Right, so therefore maybe you can find some office some office that look to be very creative, but the way that people work that probably not really creative, because when you hire designer, interior design, to come up with very cool office, but it doesn't mean that people in your organization gonna work that very creative. Just have that just because have that cool office. But it, if you have resource, it's good to do. It's good to do it anyway. All right, and third, and this is very powerful actually. As human being, if you recall the last topic that we studied in the first half is motivation. If you want people to do something, you just understand their motive, what can motivate them, and you use that. You can change their behavior, you can modify their behavior. Just like when we want to, to create some culture, yes, we have to motivate people to do that by link behavior with, good behavior that we would like to see with reward, which is, rewards. It can be powerful, very, very powerful to reinforce that behavior. For example, if you want, for excellent service, like Starbucks, they have, you know, they have a recognition reward from what I have been told. You know, when I went to Starbucks in Thailand, and then, you know, I talked with the barista, and I said, the story about Starbucks, this is true, this is also happened in Thailand. But for some part it's true. For example, like, you know, when someone do something good, their colleagues will, you know, write a card and then put that card at the back, you know, in you know, in the store, at the back in the store, something like that, you know, to show recognition of good behavior, you know, from peers. That's, you know, one, because Starbucks also would like to create that excellent service. Or can be reward in other ways, can be like in performance evaluation, that you link behavior people with values that you would like to create. Therefore, back to suppose. You remember suppose last time? Suppose, you know, that I'm, you know, share with you that 10 core values. And, you know, for example, the first one is deliver well through service. That, you know, suppose when they evaluate the employees, they don't use KPI. They don't have that, you know, like, okay, this is objective that you have to achieve, but they evaluate their employees based on behavior that consistent to their core values, which is the 10 core values. And if you recall, the last one is be humble. And so that this is what they, you know, from what they would like to see. They have mechanism to drive that behavior. Okay, that's and last one is to attracting, selecting, socializing employees. Attracting is, you know, something that we're gonna talk about that today. Recruitment. We would like to recruit. We would like to get people to be interested in our organization. But in terms of to manage organizational culture, we would like to attract the right one, the one that fits with organizational culture. So that is mean attracting. And also selecting. Selecting means that we select someone that share the same value with the organization. Last time I, you know, talk about, you know, suppose that with the interview that they asked, what is your theme song, right? You know, and that, you know, the way that they, because they have one of their values is to be weird, you know, be a little weirdness and have a little fun. Therefore, you know, in their job interview, they have like that type of questions in their job interview. And not only that, in terms of selection, in suppose, after you, like, not really, you in during your probation, normally like 90 days, and, you know, after you know, in your probation, and then you find that you are not fit with this organization, which is organization I refer to suppose, and you offer yourself to leave organization, you will get $3,000 just to offer to leave, because if you find that, okay, I'm not fit, even though you pass, you know, selection process, maybe, well, we something wrong that, you know, we thought that you fit, but, you know, right after you actually work for us for quite a while, and then you find that you're not fit with the organization, and then you offer to leave, you get right away $3,000. That's, you know, to make sure that get the right one that fit with the organization. What does it mean by acquisition? Acquisition means that when someone finds that they don't fit with the organization, they leave. So in the end of the day, we're gonna have someone that fit with the organizational culture, because we attract the one that fit with the culture. We select the one that fit with the organizational culture, and the one that find that not fit with the organization, they leave organization. But the thing is, from that attraction, selection, attrition, it can lead to homogeneous, which is not really good. Because, you know, in the end of the day, we're gonna have same type of people working in this organization. It's not good because we don't have different idea. We want, you know, diversity. We want something different to like check and balance between each other. Therefore, sometimes, you know, when we have too much of attraction, selection, attrition, it can become problem in the organization. All right, and to sum up, this is about organizational culture. All right. Okay, before we finish, let's answer this together. Jackson Electronics would like to change the organizational culture to more of a plan mean like family culture. But maybe like when you want something, you just go there and really talk to each other. Quite be very informal. This is clan culture. Focus inside the company. Jackson should do all the following methods except A, B, C, D, or E. The answer is
B.
B. Okay, very good. Okay, so done. Hopefully. All right. We done this part, organizational culture. Next, we continue with HR function, which is gonna be the last from this picture. If you recall that these are HR function, we have analysis and design work, we have HR planning, we have recruiting, selection, training and development, performance management, and so on. Which is we're gonna conclude our class with. I think it's gonna be compensation. All right. And since last time we have good presentation, workflow and job analysis. Group number one, group number one is group number one. Did a great job that they cover. I think it's all details about workforce and job analysis. Therefore, I just probably wrap up. Unless you have specific question, you let me know. All right. Last time, I think we cover almost everything. Okay. So, but my job now just to put those pieces together and maybe certain part that I would like to talk about that in details. I will do it now. Or unless you have other things. Okay. But from your answer last night, it seemed like audience got presentation very well, and because of you can answer the question. Therefore, so I'm not worrying. Anyway, why we talk about workforce and job design? Actually, in your textbook they use our opening case, which is really good, and see a picture why we have to pay attention on workforce and job design. They talk about AT&T, right? AT&T is one of the company that they has been through a lot because they was a cable company, but now today they doing business on the crowding system. So as you can see that their business change according to business landscape, according to technology. But anyway, part of that in your textbook talking about that chief data officer, top executive C-suite. That's he saw that mostly people when they work on computer, most of the tasks that they do are routine. So instead of just do routine work, repetitively, how about have some software to help them come up with something that can do mundane or repetitive tasks. They don't have to perform it on their own, but they have like automation. Therefore, he have like software application that help employees to turn that repetitive task to be automation. Therefore, it can help people that they don't have to easily get involved with that mundane with that routine task. So people will have more time on doing something else. For example, like problem solving task, something like that. Okay, in the other one, those type of redesign or come up with the way that they work different from it used to be can help both organization and company save time, and it can probably lead to less company. Less people in the company, which is, can be that, or maybe just like people and AI work together. That can be that too. But anyway, that's talking about the way that we workflow can change, and we have to understand that, and after we understand that, it can lead to other HR function. Because when you look at this question, what is the most motivating to you in a job? Maybe some of you answer A, yes, or for the rest, that you get from the company, high percentage of a raise maybe in a year, or maybe a promotion because you see career promotion. You can get ahead in the company, or mobile recognition, and can be job security. But no matter what it is, I think we accept that if we enjoy what we do, our work is gonna help a lot in terms of motivation. Therefore, it leads to work process, the way that we conduct our work, which is it's become a first topic that's in HR, that we try to understand workflow. So when we understand workflow, okay, let's understand 2-3 words in HR. In HR, jobs one thing, position is another thing, and it's get complicated that in HR we also have jobs and tasks. Okay, job and tasks. This is probably difficult for Thais because when we translate jobs into Thai and tasks into Thai, it's the same word in Thai, which is ngàn. But in HR, job and task is not the same thing. So we have task, we have job, we have position. Okay, let me explain that for HR terminology. A job means that it's comprised of a different tasks. For example, professor job. This is my job. Professor job can be solo tasks such as teach, writing exam, grading exam, anything else, helping student, consult with student, something like that. This is my task that I, as a professor, that professor has to do. That is task. But for job and position, my job is professor, and also in this semester you're taking what supply chain, or you're taking supply chain with
อาจารย์พร
okay.
พรทีรา
Again, please.
ไม่รู้
Tila. Okay. I and Ajahn Tila have the same job, which is Ajahn, a teacher, but we hold different position. In the other one position for one person, but one job can be for a lot of people. Okay, so that position can be just for one person, in HR. But jobs can be different, can be so people hold the same type of job. That's how it's different between job, task, and position. Alright, and this is when we're talking about workflow. This is our output. Output can be product and can be services. From activity, what we have to do, task. From raw input, equipment, or human resource. Alright, so we talk about that because after we understand workflow, we put workflow in terms of, into what we call structure. Okay, we have different types of structure. In the other one, structure is a system. When we compare with organizational culture is intangible system for the organization. But for organizational culture is more like tangible system. Organization needs a system. Without system, it's very hard for organization to run. For example, just like Subpost have very strong culture. But something that's become challenge for Salesforce nowadays that they try to get rid of structure. So it's become like, something that people have doubt that can Salesforce survive and grow in this, without have a concrete system. But anyway, when we're talking about system organizational culture, it means that we could work together. The way that we could work together can be different, can be like centralization, meaning that on the top make decision, or decentralization that we distribute decision making to people in the bottom. Your employees can make decision. It can be by function, meaning that people who work in this same type job stay together. For example, if you deal with customer, you are in marketing, but if you have to help employees, you are in HR, something like that. This is by function. By division can be by product or can be by geography. That is how we could work for in the organization. And next, we'll talk about job analysis. All right, job analysis is the cornerstone of HR because we, in other HR function, we rely on information that we got from job analysis. Therefore, it's quite important. Unfortunately, these functions is overlooked, by lots of people. So before we talk about, techniques, this is, what does it mean by job analysis? Job analysis means that we try to systematically study the job, but it doesn't mean that we have to study all the jobs in the organization. Most of the time, we pick some job that we think that is important, and we begin with those jobs. And then after we finish with that job, we continue with the rest. Because most of the time, it's quite hard to do job analysis for all job in the organization. But the essence of job analysis is that we try to systematically study or try to understand those jobs. What does it mean by understand? We try to find information about tasks, duty, responsibility, equipment that required by that job, and also requirement of person who can perform that job. This is means of analysis, which is maybe if you are not HR, probably you're not familiar with job analysis now. But this is again, it can be cornerstone or it can be like building blocks in HR. As for example, for good selection, when we make decision about people that we will select, we have to make sure that who can perform that job, and that information will come from job analysis. Because information from job analysis, we will use that information from job analysis to form job specification, and we will use job specification, which is I'll talk about in details later, even in recruitment. All right. Later, we talk about recruitment, especially at Facebook. But before, we continue with the case of, let's talk about recruitment just a little bit. To me, recruitment is very similar to marketing. And I can see that these two functions in business, they can combine, in certain way. Because when we're talking about marketing, it means that you try to sell your stuff to your potential customer. But recruitment means that you try to sell organization to potential candidates or potential employees. In the other one, purpose of recruitment is that we want to have a lot of people interested in our company, right? Because when we have choice, we have option. So we can be very selective. We can pick the right one in the organization. This is, when we talk about recruitment. But since I mentioned that recruitment is very similar to marketing, when in marketing, what should we begin with? When we try to market our product, what should we start with? What is the first step in marketing? I know that you haven't taken marketing, which is you will in the future, but just as as we are in business, we have working experience. We're talking about marketing. What is the essential part in marketing?
Understanding the product.
Well, if you say customer needs, I have to go back to it's not really customer need first. It have to be you have to tell yourself first who's gonna be your customer, because you cannot sell your stuff to everyone, right? In the other word, target market, very important. It's very hard that you're gonna be something that everyone want you. It's hard. So it can be just certain group, some people like you. Just like when you market yourself, probably you have certain group that you want to market yourself to. And it's just organization, they have to start off with who's gonna be that target. Which is, yes, information from job analysis will tell them who's gonna be that target. If experience is very essential for that type of job, forget about going to campus recruitment, because those people, they have no experience of whatsoever. Okay, so you have to be clear about who you want to perform that job, and to help you to be clear is you will get that information from job analysis, and we using that information in HR planning, which is when I talk about that. Even training, you should not just go train with probably this is popular nowadays, just go learn about that. No, it has to be, what about that position that for that certain employees perform, what type of knowledge, skill, ability that is required. So you have to train those employees according to what they need, and so on. All right, therefore, it's become very, very important part in HR. Next, who conduct job analysis. It can be like consultant, like me. I was hired by company, mostly in the past, when they want to apply for accreditation or ISO. From that type of system, they need to have good training job and details about the job. Therefore, I do that. I help company to do job analysis. Okay, come up with job description, job specification. Can be that outsider, temporary analysis that help organizations. For big organization, they probably can hire full-time job analysts, but mostly not, because from this type of job, it's not it's everyday job. It's probably just by ad hoc. Therefore, not really that they hire someone to actually perform job analysis. Maybe if you have money, probably you hire outsider, and if you even have a lot of money, organization prefer to hire international consultant to do that. For example, just like Hey Group, something like that, to do job analysis for a company, or it's that HR. If that HR may have some certain knowledge about job analysis, they can do that too. But it's no matter who do that, it can be outsider, it can be HR. Group of person that have to be involved in job analysis are job incumbents and that supervisor. Because those outsiders just like me, even though I have techniques, I know techniques about job analysis, but I don't know the job. Therefore, I have to get information from job incumbent anyway. Alright, so that's that. But some organizations, they have supervisor and job incumbent do job analysis, which usually can have pro and con. Pro because they know their job very well, because they're the one that who perform that job. But it can be exaggerated, or sometimes, for example, when I ask about qualification to perform that job, the answer I got is her qualification. But it's not good qualification to perform the job, if you see what I mean. But I just got that information because this is my qualification and I perform that job. But actually, it should be greater than that, to perform that job. But just because I'm doing, that job and this is my qualification, but it doesn't mean that qualification is suited to that job that he or she performs. So this is something is like judgment that job analysts have to put into consideration. All right. Well, let's talk about this. This is step in job analysis. Step 1, plan, which is objective is very important. Why we conduct the analysis? Because we start business and we would like to see clear picture about person that we need in our business, or we restructure business. So it depends on how we're gonna use information from job analysis. That is step 1. And step 2 mean prepare and introducing job analysis, which means that for example, like identify jobs. As I mentioned, that it's not all the jobs that we have to analyze, at the same time. So maybe we pick a job that we think that is something that we have to analyze first, and then we review everything. Methodology, which is we're gonna talk about that in details shortly. And third is to collect data, and this is the way that we can collect data. Okay. 2 ways. Okay, this is part that gonna probably help you. Even though good presentation only talk about that, but okay, let me distinguish this to you. 2 ways that when we collect data in job analysis, one can be qualitative and one is quantitative. So one, functional job analysis or position job analysis that very complicated. That is quantitative method, and it's not popular. The way that is popular when we collect data is qualitative. Okay, so I will start off with qualitative. This is method that we can use to collect data, which is qualitative. But keep in mind that when we collect data in job analysis, it can come from 2 sources. One is primary data, which is we collect data from job incumbents or job holders or their supervisors, or we can collect data from secondary data, which is from like ONET, or and you can just go to any source of can provide information about job analysis. That is secondary data. Okay, but now our focus is on primary data, which is we collect data from job holder, which just can be from observation, can be from interview, questionnaire, or diary. Okay, let's talk about first interview. Interview is quite popular, widely used, but it can be costly. The reason is because it takes time. For interviewer to talk to job holders. Especially if you talk, with a lot of job holders, it's gonna even take longer. After that interview, you have to transcribe that into to get information, put everything together. Sometimes it can be single incumbent, sometimes it's in group, and most of the time we have questionnaire guide or guide of questions that we'll ask. Nonetheless, it can be problem, because it's hard to find standard from interview. First, even though we have the set of questions, but it doesn't mean that every interviewer will follow exactly same type of question. Sometimes interviewer omit some question, therefore not real standard. And sometimes we interpret question in probably in different way. So it's quite hard for interview to get good standard. But anyway. This is where that we can get information in details. To improve qualification of data collected from interviews, we should get interviewers who are trained to do job analysis. But again, it can be very costly. That is interview, meaning that you go talk to job holder about their task, their duty, responsibility, equipment that they need in their job. Second, it can be questionnaires. This is easy. It's easy in the way that it's cost less. You just come up with set of questionnaire and it can be very fast. One project that I have to help one hospital, and they in urgent to get jobs to do job analysis. I just come up with questionnaire and then we call everyone who involved and conduct a workshop. Explain about that questionnaire. This question, and okay, do we have any question? If no, okay, this is my questionnaire. Please, help fill out that questionnaire. Give them time, and then after that, we collect the questionnaire back and put everything together. Become our data from job analysis. That is, questionnaire. We have format. It can be in terms of standard, have standard because it's format and have structure. But again, to get good questionnaire, this is something that we will have to put into consideration. And by the way, this also apply in your questionnaire, probably in your IS. If you have to collect data by using your questionnaire, even your business plan, probably you have to collect data about from your customer. First, in a good questionnaire should not be very long. So if you ask me how long, well, my rule of thumb, I think it's about 5 to 6 pages. That is, keep it short, keep it simple. People understand. Last semester, I have IS that talking about omnichannel. Are you guys familiar with omnichannel? See, so therefore, when in that question talking about, are you using omnichannel? This is not good questionnaire because not everyone understand those terms. So I asked my student, okay, go back and rewrite, explain omnichannel, and she come back with definition that came from textbook. Hello, this is your respondent. Your respondent will not try very hard to understand that. So you have to make it simple for just maybe just skim or just read it real fast and they can get it. Therefore, she end up with have picture to explain about omnichannel, which is work really well. So that's make it simple. Explain what it is being used for, unless if you research, you should not explain, because if you explain, you're gonna get your respondent will have bias and probably provide something that they think that it should be in the answer. But for job analysis, do tell, because you will get a support, you will get help from job incumbent if they understand what it will be used for, and test it before you use it. That's questionnaire and observation. Observation can be, one way that we can collect data. But yes, it's not our job that we can collect data. Some jobs that require mental, part cannot be observed. So it just can be some job, yes, you can observe and they do this and do that. But again, you should not, be as unobtrusive as possible when observe the job. And last way to collect data that have involvement from job incumbent is daily. We ask, we have to ask job holder to write, about that work, that duty, frequency, how, when. But it can be very difficult because most people are not disciplined enough to keep a log. So, it has to be get commitment, from job incumbents, and the challenge part is that we cannot just write me just one day. No, because work normally on Monday is totally different from Friday. So at least we have to ask them to write, a log for us at least 5 days if they 5 days a week. But if they work 6 days a week, they have to at least write a daily for 6 days, Monday to Saturday. That's very challenge, but we can get very, if we get commitment, it can be a good information in job analysis. All right, those are qualitative information that we will put together later. But there are other ways, as I mentioned, that is not popular. This is what we call quantitative techniques. So for this type of technique, they have exact format. When we collect data, we'll get number, and then we end up with number from each criteria. It depends on each criteria. For example, functional job analysis. This functional job analysis have criteria about things that people do, physically related to things, data, people, something like that. And for example, when talking about people, scale is can be taking instruction, serving, exchanging. They come up with all details, and with then when job analysts use this scale, they can just assign number. So they got number from each scale. That's this is or position position contain like 195 items, and for example for PAQ section have like 6 section: information input, mental, for example like and this is explanation from each category. Like information input have visual source of information. If multiply is n, 1 is not very infrequent, and 2 5 very substantial, and assign that number. So as you can see that it's quite hard to use this qualitative method to collect data in job analysis. Therefore, it's not very popular. All right. So after we collect data, we put everything together. Outcome of job analysis are job description and job specification. All right. After we got data about job, we put that in terms of job description. Okay. And job specification. This is our job. What does it mean by job description? Job description means that we have job summary, we have like title of the job, we have description of the job. Sometimes we even have like percentage of the time for each work activity. When we write job description, some organization also have like KPI for each work activity that that can be done too. It depends on how much they will to go in details in job description, which is I'm sure that you're familiar with job description and also job specification. Job specification provide requirement to perform that job. But one thing that I would like to emphasize is that qualification that we put in job specification should be minimum, should not be nice to have. Okay, if you write something like put on something like nice to have on JS or job specification, you will end up probably first when you recruit and get people in the organization. It's going to be hard for you because you have very high standard. One thing. And another thing is that when you have high standard in your job specification, later you will have with pay too high. Because when we do job evaluation in compensation management, we will rely on information from job specification. Therefore, we don't want to pay people, for example, if that job call for just bachelor degree, and then if you put down master degree, you end up with you have to pay that person per person who perform that job higher than they supposed to do or they're supposed to have. All right. So in terms of like qualification, is it preferable? Maybe you look at that qualification in the process of job selection. But in terms of job specification, it have to be minimum requirement that good to perform that job. And job specification should go with job description. All right, so that's about it. That's about anything else that okay. So this is from last time. This is job design. Job analysis try to study, understand job, but job designs try to probably help job campaign to increase efficiency or motivation. This is purpose of job design. And last time, good presentation in good job design. So what is the answer for this one? Adding more tasks to an existing job is called job While adding more decision making authority to job is called job And the answer is very good. Okay, so I think we should not be worried about job design. Design for efficiency, design for motivation, for mental capacity, self and health. Anything else that that you would like me to elaborate or maybe explain about job design? Anything? Okay, if not, I think it's it's all covered in representation. Except for maybe the way that we maybe change from the past about work schedule. In the past, maybe just like work from 9 to 5, but nowadays we have fixed time that we can choose to attend work early and leave early, or work late and leave late in this fixed time. Job sharing to people, with people sharing the job, and also of course we have to share compensation. Complex work week that we work more each day, so we have probably 1 day off. Telework that we allow people to work from home. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of telework in Thailand. Given that traffic is very heavy, but for some reason we don't have a lot of telework. But even outside Thailand, when organizations offer telework, some employees hesitate to take this option. Maybe because they would like to separate between work and family. So if they work at home, so everything gonna be in the same place. Some people don't want that, and some people they are afraid of the idea that out of sight, out of mind. If you are not in office, maybe you out of sight and out of mind of your boss. And some people they want social, therefore they still would like to go to work. Okay, so that's pretty much about job analysis and job design. So after we understand job, now we use information in HR planning and recruitment. How about we take a break and then we continue?